Did you know that many women who engage in secret relationships often reveal, without even realizing it, a part of what they're trying to hide? And the method is quite simple. It comes through the words they use in their everyday speech. In this video, we'll go over 5 phrases that are frequently repeated by women who are involved in hidden affairs. And this might just make you see the relationship from an entirely different angle than what you're used to. If you're currently a man in a relationship, this video could help you recognize signs that may have been right in front of you all along, though you never really paid them any attention. But before we begin, if you find this information useful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Also, write the phrase "I am aware" in the comments section to let us know that you're following this content with interest and focus. Before we move on to the first sentence, there's a fundamental point we need to grasp first. Infidelity doesn't usually appear out of nowhere without any prior indicators. In most cases, it's the outcome of a complex psychological process that accumulates over time. Beyond that, language often turns into a window that looks out onto what's going on in a person's subconscious. When a woman is juggling 2 relationships at once, her mind works non-stop to balance 2 completely contradictory worlds. On one side, there's her official relationship with her partner, and on the other, there's the secret relationship she's desperately trying to keep under wraps. This very contradiction is what produces what's known in psychology as cognitive dissonance, a mental strain that can cause certain words or expressions to slip out of her mouth unintentionally. Have you ever felt that your partner sometimes says things that seem strange or different from her usual way of speaking? Keep watching until the end, because what you're about to hear might change the way you understand certain behaviors you've been ignoring all along. The first phrase that's often repeated is, "I feel like you don't really understand me anymore," or "you don't know me the way you used to." These words might sound painful, but they often carry a much deeper message beneath the surface. In some cases, there might be someone else she believes understands her more. And when she repeats this phrase over and over, it's likely that she's subconsciously drawing a comparison between her relationship with you and another one she sees as more emotionally fulfilling. From a psychological standpoint, this phrase can turn into a form of self-justification, because if she convinces herself that you no longer understand her as you once did, then looking for someone else who can give her that feeling might start to seem like a logical option in her subconscious. At that point, part of the blame shifts toward you, leaving you caught in a spiral of doubt and self-questioning, when in reality the truth may be far more complex than what meets the eye. But don't stop there. This sentence might reveal more than you expect, and perhaps you've heard it before without ever grasping its real meaning. The second phrase is, "I need some space," or "I want some time alone." When a woman involved in a secret relationship repeats these words frequently, it might not mean that she's trying to pull away from everyone, as it might seem at first glance. Rather, she's pulling away from you specifically in order to create room to manage the other side of her life. At first, this might look like a perfectly natural desire for privacy and independence, but in many cases it can turn into a way of creating new opportunities to get closer to someone else. Here, the importance of paying attention to small details, often easily overlooked, becomes clear. If she keeps insisting on needing her own space, yet at the same time remains very active on social media, goes out often, meets up with her friends, and leads a busy social life, then the issue probably isn't really about needing solitude. What's actually changed is her level of closeness to you, because someone who genuinely needs space usually uses that time for reflection, self-discovery, emotional rebalancing, or self-development. But when there's an emotional attachment to someone else, the enthusiasm for socializing and staying active typically doesn't fade. It's the primary partner who gets pushed aside. Also worth noting is the timing of this request, as it often comes right after moments of deep emotional intimacy or intense closeness. The reason is that such situations can trigger feelings of guilt, making the creation of temporary distance a way to relieve that accumulated psychological pressure. Now, we come to the third sentence, which is one of the ones that most deserves your serious attention, as it's usually delivered in a way that sounds highly logical and convincing. The third phrase is, "This has nothing to do with you," or "It's not about you." You'll typically hear this when you notice a change in that person's behavior, and try to understand what's going on, and instead of getting a clear and straightforward answer, all you receive is an assurance that the problem has nothing to do with you at all. Even though the reality is that in any close relationship, almost every emotional shift affects the partner in one way or another. When someone says their problem doesn't involve you, sometimes that's an attempt to avoid disclosing information they don't want to share, as if the underlying message is, please don't keep investigating in this direction. Many men don't realize that this phrase can emerge alongside specific emotional changes triggered by another relationship. She might become colder, show less interest, or act differently from what you're used to. And when you start noticing this shift and ask what's happening, offering an answer that doesn't reveal the real root of the issue is much easier for her. Psychologically speaking, what's striking is that this person might actually be convinced that by saying this, she's protecting you from pain, but the actual outcome is that you lose the chance to get a clear picture of what's really going on around you. The fourth phrase is among the hardest to detect because it sounds very convincing and is all too easy to believe instinctively. The fourth phrase is, I'm going through a difficult time, or there's a lot on my mind. This excuse is one of the most commonly used justifications. When you hear these words, your instinct usually pushes you towards sympathy and understanding, and you might hold back from asking further questions so you don't come across as adding to her burdens. But this is exactly where the core of the problem lies. Because someone who's truly going through a hard time typically turns to their partner for emotional support and comfort. Yet in some cases of infidelity, this phrase is often used as a way to justify the emotional distance that has begun to form.